Alright, so we just wrapped up the Wuthering Waves 2.1 developer livestream, and I'm hyped, like really hyped. But it got me thinking, how much do I like this game? I mean, it's definitely one of the best gacha games out there right now, but how does this stack up as a video game overall? So I thought it'd be fun to dive into that and share my thoughts with you all. This is Nigerian Perspective, and let's get into it. So, personally, I've always believed that gacha games shouldn't be compared directly to traditional video games because there's often a noticeable drop in quality. That's why I get a bit confused when I see that comparison. I mean, you can't really stack up a gacha game against something like God of War. In AAA titles, realism is the baseline. Think Kratos in God of War or Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us. Everything from their movements to their interactions is meant to feel as real as possible. But with gacha games, there is a lot more leniency. Take Honkai Star Rail, for example, where simple actions sometimes just get a black screen and some text. It's the same in games like Genshin Impact and even Wuthering Waves. There's a different standard of realism with regards to gacha games. But even with that being said, I want to compare Wuthering Waves to a AAA game. And I know with everything I've said, it's sort of an unfair comparison, but I want to answer the question, why do I feel so hyped for the 2.1 live stream? Like, why do I feel something that I would only feel for a AAA game for this game? Okay, so before I go into it, having played both versions of Wuthering Waves, I want to give some leniency to the version 1 since it was just the beginning and there were a lot of issues and all that, and I want to put more focus in version 2.0 and beyond. How does it hold up as a game? Not just a gacha. Let's explore my experience and let's see how Wuthering Waves fares as a video game. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna dive into the story, combat, exploration, and the general feel of the game. I'll also touch on areas where I think they missed the mark. Starting with the story, the plot itself is fairly typical for a gacha game. So not to spoil too much in case you've not played it, you arrive in Reguna City, you meet Zani, you uncover a conspiracy, and you chase down the bad guys. It's not particularly deep or groundbreaking. But what really stands out is the voice acting. I mean, firstly, it is a massive upgrade from version 1 and adds so much emotion and depth to the entire game. I mean, just listen to this.
Go forth, dear pilgrims, on your sacred journey. May the Sentinel guide you as it has guided the returning ships. Go forth, Andreas, the fool. The benevolent Primus has blessed you with this sacred pilgrimage. May you find the righteous path on your voyage.
If you're all so righteous, why don't you join the pilgrimage yourselves?
Our duty remains here, to shepherd the lost. I grieve for you, my brother, for you have strayed from the truth.
Truth. Don't make me laugh.
You hear this just after stepping into Reguna, and I think this perfectly sets the stage for the roller coaster of vocal awesomeness that we witnessed. I mean, the diverse mix of accents, English, Scottish, Italian, really brings Reguna City to life and makes the story much more engaging. You don't often see this level of voice acting even in AAA games, and it adds depth to the overall experience. However, I want to make an important distinction between the plot and the story. The plot, which covers the events, actions, and narrative beats, sits at a solid 5 out of 10. While it effectively introduces us to Reguna City and sets up the core adventure, it's not groundbreaking or particularly memorable compared to other game introductions. Titles like God of War set the bar high with their powerful introductions. hunting in the woods seamlessly escalating into the epic boulder fight, which both built tension and showcased the grandeur of the Nordic world. The Last of Us 2 and Red Dead Redemption also stand out for their ability to captivate players right from the opening scenes. Now, when you factor in the stellar voice acting and the overall atmosphere, the experience becomes far more compelling. It elevates the story beyond the limitations of the plot, making it a well-rounded 7 out of 10. Transitioning to Wuthering Waves combat, I believe it's the one thing they nailed right from the start. Gacha games, especially recent ones, have reached a point where their combat systems are easily comparable even to AAA titles. Honestly, I can see a strong argument for stacking games like Genshin Impact, Zelda Zone Zero, or even Wuthering Waves right up there with heavyweights like God of War or Elden Ring. We're talking about games that deliver adrenaline-pumping, skill-driven combat experience that you usually only expect from blockbuster titles. And Wuthering Waves, it nails combat from the jump. It's fast-paced, fluid, and genuinely exhilarating. It's the kind of system that hooks you right away. While the game is clearly inspired by Genshin Impact, it doesn't just copy and paste. Sure, there's a bit of that team setup influence, but Wuthering Waves boldly carves its own path. I'd say a solid 90% of its combat DNA is unique, with heavy nods towards punishing Grey Raven. The real standout, every character stands on their own. In Genshin, synergy between characters is king. You need those elemental reactions to unlock a character's full potential. Wuthering Waves flip that on its head. You can take a single character and go wild, no backup required. It's all about intros, skill chains, parries, and a slick dodge system that makes every fight feel satisfying. And this is where the comparison to AAA games really holds weight. Think of God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, or Sekiro, where the thrill of combat comes from that smooth dance between attack and defense, parries, perfect dodges, and timing your moves just right. Wuthering Waves captures that energy perfectly, and although it takes time to master, once you do, it's absolute magic. I'd give it a solid 8 or even an 8.5 out of 10. Sure, there's room for growth, like making the Dream Link a permanent open world feature. I would really want that, but what we have now is phenomenal. Wuthering Waves proves that gacha games aren't just chasing AAA games with regards to combat, they're right there on the same level. Alright, exploration. Wuthering Waves absolutely nails the exploration experience, and it's clear that the devs have leveled up with 2.0. Sure, everyone loves the hype of the flight system, but let's set that aside for a bit because there's a lot more to appreciate. First off, the map itself feels like a premium AAA title. It's massive and it's beautifully crafted. In the earlier version, exploration was tracked by simple percentages in areas like Hongzheng or the Black Shores, and that gave you a rough idea of how much you'd covered. That feature is still there, but version 2.0 cranks it up a notch by adding clear directions to exploration points. And here's where it gets interesting. Renesita's map organizes everything neatly. So combat events, puzzle events, or chests are all grouped in designated areas, making the whole experience less chaotic. I get it, some might argue that it spoon feeds players and takes away the thrill of aimless discovery, but not everyone wants that frustration of combing through every nook and cranny, or resorting to endless Google searches just to find that last hidden chest. This new system is a massive win for players who want a streamlined yet immersive experience, and the best part, it's entirely optional. If you're a traditionalist who loves the thrill of raw exploration, you can totally ignore the directions and do things your way. But for those who want a guided, stress-free experience that lets you hit up to 90% of the exploration without feeling lost, this system delivers. Honestly, even compared to AAA games, I'd rate this feature an 8 out of 10. It's thoughtful, player-friendly, and adds a whole new dimension to the Wuthering Waves experience. However, when it comes to the events scattered throughout Wuthering Waves exploration, I have to say they don't quite reach the groundbreaking levels you would expect from a game aiming to stand toe-to-toe with a AAA title. The events still carry that familiar gacha game vibe, something you would easily see in Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, or even a more open world version of Zenless Zone Zero. They're not bad, but they don't exactly redefine the genre either. One positive step forward is the addition of these diamond-shaped portal-like rewards that are often guarded by enemies. Visually, it's a nice touch and breaks up the monotony of simply hunting for chests. Even though they essentially provide the same kind of rewards, having players search for something other than just chests is a welcome change. But here's the thing, that's not enough. Defeating enemies for a chest, solving puzzles for a chest, or even completing tasks for the exploration NPCs still boils down to one thing: getting a chest. And that's a fundamental issue I have with gacha style exploration. It feels like the world is built to hide chests rather than creating chests to complement the world. Players want more than just loot boxes scattered around a beautifully crafted environment. I mean, imagine if exploration led to genuinely exciting and meaningful rewards. What if at the end of a challenging exploration you stumble upon a rare 4-star weapon just lying there waiting to be claimed? Or you encounter a powerful echo with incredible stats that become yours upon defeating it? Now that's hype-worthy. It gets even better if we think beyond just weapons and echoes. 2.0 hinted at the potential for rover customization when they gave him that core mask. What if certain explorations rewarded players with exclusive gear for the rover, hand accessories, subtle outfit tweaks, or unique cosmetic items? There is also the fact that not every character will get that full Sanhua treatment with an entire event dedicated to their new look, and that's understandable. But what if we hid custom outfits for other 4-star characters in exploration zones, right? Like, that would really be a fantastic incentive to have players explore more of this world. This is the kind of reward systems that would elevate exploration from just finding chests to a thrilling adventure filled with surprises. Players would dive back into the world with genuine excitement, wondering what incredible find is waiting for me next. So yeah, when rating the events of exploration, I would give it a solid 6 out of 10. Now that's me being fair, because if I were just comparing it to other gacha games, it might score an 8 or even a 9, but I'm evaluating it as a game overall, stacked against all kinds of games, including AAA titles. And in that context, it's closer to a 5.5 or maybe a 6. The reason, well, it's not bad at all, it's polished and has its moments, but it doesn't bring anything groundbreaking to the table. I've seen this formula before: defeat enemies, solve puzzles, and chase after chests. And while it's enjoyable at first, I can absolutely see it becoming repetitive and eventually boring. Players need something more dynamic and rewarding to keep exploration engaging over the long run. Alright, the flight system in Wuthering Waves. The flight system is absolutely phenomenal. It's easily one of the best features they've ever introduced. Now let's talk about why it's so brilliant. When you step into the vast, beautiful world of Renacita, you can fly, and not just for short bursts. They give you enough stamina to reach far off places right from the start. That freedom is pure magic. But here's where it gets even better. If you explore more, you can unlock additional stamina, which means even longer and more epic flights. The game makes flying itself the reward, encouraging players to dive into exploration. It's smart, it's exciting, and it makes Renacita feel truly limitless. It's a total win-win. Now let's talk about the implementation of the flight system in Wuthering Waves. Honestly, it's phenomenal, even compared to some AAA games. There are plenty of titles out there with flying mechanics. The GTA series, the Far Cry series, where you can hop into a vehicle and take to the skies. But here's the thing. In most of these games, you don't actually want to fly. The controls can be clunky, the experience feels buggy, or it just does not deliver that thrill you expect. Even the Far Cry's wingsuit system, which I think does a decent job with speed and direction, still can't compare. And then you've got a game like Horizon Forbidden West, which offers some flight moments, but they're limited and honestly just okay. But Wuthering Waves, well, it's on another level. Like, there is something about the flight system that makes you go wow. Maybe it's the stunning sci-fi fantasy world you're hovering over, or maybe it's just how bug-free the mechanics feel. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it works, and it works brilliantly. In fact, I'd go as far as saying that it's one of the best, if not the best flight system I have ever seen in gaming. Now, that says a lot, right? And I know that some of you might disagree. And if you think there is a game with a flight system that's on par or even better, I'd love to hear it in the comments. But from my experience, Wuthering Waves takes the crown. The level of heart, soul, and passion they've poured into this system is undeniable. I rated it a solid 9.5, maybe even a perfect 10. And I hope we see more incredible systems like this in the future. It's just that good. Alright, let's talk about Wuthering Waves as a whole. If you couldn't tell already from everything I've said, I love this game. So it's phenomenal. Sure, it has its strengths and weaknesses, but for a game that's only been around for a little over 6 months, it's genuinely impressive. I wouldn't just recommend it, I insist you give it a try. And honestly, hats off to the developers at Kuro Games. They are by far some of the best in the gacha game industry. What makes them stand out is their commitment to player feedback. Unlike other studios, yeah, I'm looking at you, Hoyoverse, Kuro Games gets it. They understand that a problem never stays a problem if you address it. They actually listen to players, and that's just a breath of fresh air, to be honest. Now, for the record, just because I pointed out a few negatives doesn't mean I hate the game. It's quite the opposite. When you love something, you're honest about it. The worst thing you can do is pretend it's flawless, and what's great is that Kuro Games themselves said player feedback is more valuable than any award that they could possibly win. They want to hear it all, the good, the bad, and everything in between. So, with that in mind, I want to hear from you. What do you love about Wuthering Waves? What are some of the things you think they could improve? Drop your thoughts in the comments and I'd love to read them. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you don't miss any future uploads. I'm really taking this seriously and I want to build something amazing with you guys. Thanks for hanging out and I'll catch you in the next one.